Hi, welcome to a special broadcast that we're making specially for the Pinecone Utopia portal. Now, that portal is dedicated to helping targeted individuals work with themselves in their own consciousness to try to overcome the suffering that's being imposed on them. We'll probably already, since we have such a fascinating interviewee, we'll probably post this on Pinecone Utopia also, but it's specifically made to help targets and other people who want to get their minds under control. Who we have with us today is Ole Dammegard, a close personal friend from a long time, and he's been improved by this spiritual practice and working on this for many, many years. And I'm really anxious to get started with him, catch up with him, and also have him explain how to do this practice. And also he has a reference book that you might want to pick up. So, good evening, Ole. How are you doing over there? Are you here?
I'm doing absolutely excellent, and thank you so much for having me back on.
Okay. As I promised, we wanted to talk about your spiritual practice, the thing that keeps you centered and keeps you focused on what you've been doing, and then maybe branch out into other topics. We have a little time delay.
Yeah, there is a time delay, so I didn't hear. Was there a question? I'm sorry.
No, there's no question. We just need to start, and I thought we'd start by maybe naming your practice and how you got involved in it and what it actually is.
I don't know what the name is. I just try to stay alive and live a good life and enjoy every minute of it. I think there is a reason why you have invited me on this program, and I believe that had this program been about surfers, you would invite really good surfers. The area I come from is that I have been facing the very dark forces for many, many years. The choices to act in my own, by free choice. And the difference between me and many into this, I have come to a point where I can feel that where I can keep a balanced inner position, even in threatened situations and so on. So I think I want to start out with saying that whatever I say tonight in this interview, please don't be offended. Maybe some of it could be interpreted as being an attack or criticism of so-called targeted individuals or victims of these things, but that is not my intention. My intention is that hopefully through all of these years that I have been in these types of situations, that maybe my experience can help lift whoever is in a difficult situation at the moment.
Fantastic. So we can get started.
Well, go for it.
Okay.
Where do you want to begin?
Yeah, I know you've been in frightening situations. I can remember one time when you were in a Bilderberg meeting and you saw there was a potential for a false flag, and you fearlessly jumped in, did everything you could, informed everybody, and probably diffused it. You seemed to be in no fear. You seemed to be just dedicated to what you were doing and going for it. So explain how you do that. How do you keep yourself mindful? And
how do I keep myself mindful? I think that whatever the situation is, you have to ask yourself, what is the real enemy? Where is the real enemy? What is the enemy? Is it the situation, or is it how you deal with it? I would prefer to see whatever situation I am in, I prefer to see that I am in a perfect situation at this moment to experience something, whatever that is. But I am there for a reason. Very often I don't feel that I put myself there by conscious choice. even though I believe I have on a subconscious level. But I am in the situation, whatever that is. So deal with it. And the choice I have is not deal with it or don't deal with it. The choice is how to deal with it. Because there's always the option of whatever. Am I a victim, or am I here to learn or to maybe transform this into something good for myself and others? And so what I've dedicated my life to is to try and fine-tune myself and hone myself into being as good as I can to at every step choose love instead of fear, to choose love instead of hatred, choose love instead of judgment, and so on, so that I can transcend these things. And also, when I'm in difficult situations, not jump into a very, very dangerous trap, which is to see myself as a victim. I was there many years. But instead see myself as there for a reason. And the reason could even be to help heal who's ever attacked. Whatever it is, it's not up to me to judge. The only responsibility I have is how do I deal with it. And the way I've chosen is a way that I love. I absolutely love it because it's the way of love. And this way had taken me into very, very strange areas, very dark areas. I met so-called monsters. I met assassins, hired killers, soldiers of fortunes, people that used to be torturers, but also incredible people on the other side. And what I've seen is that my task is not judge them. My task is to judge the deeds. It's just like they say in the scriptures, don't judge the sinner, judge the sin. So try to keep these two things apart. See that this individual here believes in what he's doing or she is doing. Whatever it is, even if it's horrendous stuff, for some reason they have chosen to do it. And they believe that what they're doing is right. And that in that case, I am wrong, or I am the enemy, or I am the target. So I can't judge them for that because I see them as the so-called enemy as well. It's just we've chosen different positions in this situation. So I try to leave out the judgment, judge the situation, judge the act, deal with it, but without anger, without hatred, without revenge in my heart. And then just see how can I transcend it, how can I heal it. And it's in these situations when and if I manage to keep that focus, incredible things happen, incredible healing things happen that is way bigger than both I and the other individual. We're just there as players, but the power that it's almost like chemistry. When you put opposite chemicals together, you can get explosives, but you can also get incredible medicine. And choice is yours, how to deal with whatever the other thing is. It's almost, I think, like fine-tuning yourself as part of the immune system. The body temple's immune system doesn't judge whatever is attacking it. It's just doing its job. Something is here to destroy us, or because I think the immune system see the whole thing as a we experience, not that the immune system is an individual system that says, oh my God, I am being targeted. It says we, the whole body is being targeted for some reason. Our job, not my job, our job is to deal with it. No judgment, just deal with it and heal it. And so this is also where perfection comes from, because without challenges, we would just be the same, and the same. So this is what I try to do, just see how nature works, how nature, there's no judgment, there's very rarely anger in when nature is in balance. Things that could be looked upon as very violent, very raw, brutal, sometimes occur. But that's part of the game, and also part of fine-tuning the whole system into perfection. The weaker parts are taken care of, feeding the rest of the human family or the animal kingdom or nature as a whole. And whatever we talk about tonight, I would say it will come back to the question, are you a victim or are you not? The victim one is a major, major trap. As soon as you are a victim, you've lost your power. Doesn't matter what the situation is. If you see yourself as a victim, you're screwed. Boom. You can just see the other one as the bad guy, the attacker, and you lost the whole point of what's going on. If you turn it around and see, well, I am in the situation, bad luck, good luck, who knows, it sucks, but I'm here. If you can see that, and then without judgment seeing what type of healing can happen here, what can I be part of accomplishing, sometimes you have no idea what you're doing, but if you're at these situations, if you focus on your mind, what's going on there, and manage to focus and stay in balance, stay in love without judgment, that is where incredible things happen. And this is, I get such a boost out of these situations. I get such a rush of empowerment in these situations. And I see the other individual or individuals that are there will also get very affected. They won't like it to start with, because the thing is that many times these individuals they have built their whole belief system on control, how to suppress other ones with force. They have built up their muscles with weapons, whatever it is, uniforms, titles, you name it, to control you, to control the rest of us, or to deceive us, or to push us down, or whatever it is. And when they meet an individual who do not take part of the game, who does not buy into the fear factor, they don't know what to do. They have the option in these situations, if it goes extreme, they can go extremely violent and kill. So what can I say? This is it is a way that many other individuals have followed. Great leaders like Gandhi or Martin Luther King and so on. Many people have died, but it's still the way to go.
I think you're exactly right. Ole, you cut out after you said they can go extremely violent. I think you were talking about what happens when you receive it this way, because you're not receiving it the way they think you are, and then they get more angry.
No. But the thing is, if you don't buy into their anger, they don't know what to do. They're so used to people just bending over, giving up, turning around, pulling down the pants and just say, I surrender. Do not buy into these games. If you don't swallow the fear, if you just let it go, they get powerless. They don't know what to do. In these situations, there is the danger, there is a risk of them getting extremely violent. I mean, you can get killed in these situations if it goes to an extreme level. You can also be very harmed bodily and so on. But I can only say from my experience that if I manage to keep that focus on love and compassion in these situations, I've seen it with other people as well, that I managed to do that, then this incredible healing happens. And then what is amazing is that you, for one, who have managed to stay in balance in this situation, get a very a deep I don't know how to describe it there, but there's this power rush of joy and freedom and beautiful healing inside you and empowering you in your choice of what you've done. But what also happens is that the other individuals who have up until then lived a life often based on brutality and physical force and control, it breaks, the system breaks, because at that point it doesn't work anymore, and it's almost like something has sort of pulled broken a barrier. Didn't even know that they had their heart behind all the armor and so on, but there's a crack in there, and a seed has been put in there that cannot stop growing. And I believe that often after meetings like that, that these individuals, they will never be able to go back to this power game again in the same way. It will slowly deteriorate and crack down and open up their heart. So I think extremely powerful healing takes place in these situations.
That's wonderful. And it's like it's taking part in the spiritual battle that's going on beyond this physical manifestation that we've created. Very inspiring. There's going to be some people out there, these people, you're familiar with the situation, so you know these people are in pain every day. They're hitting their heart, and they're gang stalk people in the neighborhood. So to encourage them to take this more spiritual, this more conscious-based approach, and it's not fighting it. It's actually more like judo, isn't it?
I wouldn't call it judo. I would call it aikido. Judo is where you have a struggle and you throw each other. There's many different ways of throwing. Karate is force against force. Aikido is totally different. Aikido is the one where it looks like they've got like black skirts on, but it's not. It's actually trousers. But what they do in Aikido is that your task is to stay focused in balance. When the attacker comes, you do not hate him or fear him. You're just focused on the inner balance, and then you get out of the way. The attack comes, the physical body attack comes. Your task, get out of that position. What you then do is that the force of the attack passes you, and then you turn the direction of the attack into a circular shape downwards most of the time, that will then make them fall on their own. The attacker will go down on his own force. But what you do is you turn it around in a circular form, and then so the attacker just misses you and goes down. But then you are very aware and take great concern in him not hurting himself. So you turn it in such a beautiful round shape that he goes down, but you make very sure that you got your foot under his head and so on, so he doesn't smash into the concrete. And then boom, you control him, and then you say, "Dear friend, stop behaving like an absolute asshole and stop." You control him, boom, you lock him and say, "Enough is enough. Let me know when you calm down and I will let you loose." And I think it's an absolute beautiful, beautiful, symbolic work into these situations. And once again, we're talking about targeted individuals that I don't know how it is to live in that situation. So I'm not really the one to talk to you about how to deal with that. At the same time, I think I am. Because we're back to, doesn't matter where the attack comes, and under a lot of pressure from time to time. But where is the real enemy? Is it out there, or is it in your mind? How do you deal with it? People say, I'm I'm being stalked by a gang. Okay, so
well, let me ask a question to get you back on track here.
okay.
I think a couple things. One is getting out of fear. I think this technique begins by staying out of fear, because what the perpetrators seem to be wanting to do is to put you in fear so they know how you react in fear. But if you don't go in fear, not only can't you be a victim, but they can't get any information. So I think, go ahead.
No, the thing is, when you look at it, if it's called the New World Order, the Nazis, gang stalking, you name it, serial killers, whatever it is, the way they control you is through fear. It is the same, and the same. That's the only way they've ever been able to control you. In family situations, fear, fathers, violent family members, or whatever, it's through fear. Or military, through fear. Invasion, through fear. It's fear. It's always fear. And the exact opposite to fear is love. So I'm not talking about New Age love like Wii, this type of thing. I'm talking about frequencies and vibrations, because everything in this universe are vibrations. Everything, even though it looks like a solid wall, it's a vibration. It's the level that gives us the impression that, oops, I cannot move this one, so I better not do it again, going with my head first, because it's going to be painful. If it's softer, the frequency is different. And so it makes us, in this matrix, we can move around and we just say, okay, I can move freely here, but this thing that looks like concrete, no. And so on. Everything is frequencies. And the lowest frequencies in this universe, as far as I know, are pure terror. And the highest of the high, even higher than the frequency of thought, is the frequency of love. That is just the name that has been given it. We've given it, but that is the highest frequency. And what happens in this universe is that you can see it in laboratory tests and so on. If they have, you can let two different frequencies meet. What happens if you do that? If you have one high and one low, and let the two meet, what happens is that just the pure meeting of the two is not that they start fighting and then meet somewhere in the middle. The lower one gets annulled. Exactly the way, like, if you go into a dark room, it looks like, oh, the darkness is like, there's no way you can even walk. It's full of fear and dangerous things. You switch on the light, boom, the darkness is gone. It's not, there's no struggle, there's no fighting. The darkness has just been annulled. You let light, that's it. That is also why my website is called Light on Conspiracies. Light on Conspiracies. Conspiracies extremely fear-based, extremely violent, low frequencies. You go into these very dark areas with the intention of light, it annuls it. And in the light is also where the truth lives. Whatever the truth is up there. Because truth is just beautiful, free, it stands alone, it fears no attack, it fears no investigation, on the absolute contrary of conspiracies or violent deeds. They fear all of these things, and it just grows, and like a cancer grows, where this is also, I love the truth because it's just so pure and it shows the way. The truth is always there, even though it can be very difficult sometimes to find it, but you just have to follow it one step by step, and also start listening not to this one, but to your heart. The heart will tell you, not your head. Your head is a mechanism in this body that is there to think thoughts. It will think all the time. All the time. It's just delivering thoughts. And if you don't feed it with good stuff, it can go crazy. It can tell you whatever, all kinds of nonsense and so on. So this one, if you had a guy that was talking non-stop about absolute nonsense, would you trust such an individual taking you through dangerous neighborhoods? I think not. But that is what most of us are following. We're following this one. And if we haven't worked on purifying it and simplifying stuff and learning it to decipher the situation, and also learning it to show us reality of what's going on, showing us the truth in many situations, instead of tricking, believing propaganda, manipulation, and all of these things in mainstream media, whatever it is, it will lead you totally in the wrong direction. But your heart is a totally different story. The difference between these voices is that this one is very loud, this one is very quiet. This one is very quiet. And it's actually whispering. They sound the same, but this one is whispering. So you have to turn this one on, turn down the volume of this one to hear this one. But this one is not tricking you. You can trust this one. And I believe in this matrix where we're living, it's almost like in a computer game. And I've actually written a book called Remind Me, Re-Mind Me. It's a play with word meaning, like almost like reboot. Reboot yourself, reboot your mind, and start seeing it. It's when you hear the word brainwashing, I think it's actually a beautiful word, because we need to rinse this one. We need to give it a good wash and clean, so that because it's been so packed with lies and manipulation and fake information and so on. So we need to clean it up. We need to clean it out, purify the mind, give it a good rinse, and then boom, we can start seeing, okay, even though this can be quite painful to see that, oh my God, I've been deceived in so many different areas, which I would suggest is where we are at this point in history. So many of these things that we've been told have turned out to be absolute lies to control us. So many things we thought was a fact. Nope, sorry, that one was a lie as well. These things that we're being fed on a daily basis just turns out absolutely not true. And that was not true, that one is not true, and that one is not true. So it's like a very confusing time, at the same time a wonderful time, because here it's coming to a point where these things that we're being fed are so ridiculous, so outrageously stupid, so outrageously manipulated, that you have to be absolutely brain dead not to see that you're being taken for a ride. In the old days, it was very subtle. Most people had no idea. Now, I mean, there's no excuse anymore. It's just too mind-blowing, incredibly stupid, and I mean, what to say? When I listen to mainstream media, sometimes I have to turn it off, because it hurts my brain. When I hear, hello, good afternoon, welcome to BBC World News, and they start pumping you, and it's a beautiful voice that sounds very sincere, and it's a hand-picked voice that would be handpicked for the reason of, with this type of sincere voice, you can trust me. And then you start listening to, what is this individual saying? And then, since I've devoted so many years into trying to find out what the real truth is, and I think I managed in many areas, I can just go through the different things they go through, and I say, that might be true, that I know for a fact that is an absolute lie. That one, like when they say, another terror attack has happened here, and it might be the same as the people behind the Nice terror attack, but that was a fake attack, or the Berlin attack, but that one was fake as well, or the Sandy Hook, that was fake. Boston bombing, they used the same explosives. No, they did not, because that one was another fake one. And there was a mass shooting in that school. I'm going to check that one up. Well, it followed the exact template as all the other ones. So I had to put a question mark there. And then we have the sports. Okay, I can start believing again what you're saying. And the weather. No, that one, they don't have a clue about that one either, because all the chemtrails and that is just messing the whole thing up for them every day. So, and that's the news from BBC World News today. And I've been thinking about sometimes to, like set up almost like a, here's the official news, and then right after the news, like, okay, just 2 minutes of, hang on, before you buy into what you were just told, let's just go through that. That meeting with this individual, the Prime Minister of Uganda, just met the Prime Minister of Uganda, and that he's a guy from Council on Foreign Relations. So you can't trust these two guys, what they're up to, because both of them are loyal to another cause. And they just signed the agreement for the G8. Okay, these guys are in it as well. The diplomatic ambassador of it, well, he's a former CIA. He's still in, work. So you can't trust that guy either. And then the whole result of this meeting is going to be heightened security because of world terrorism. Well, you're behind it. Yeah. And so we can't trust that either. And thanks to this, now we have to pay even more millions of dollars into heightened security at the airports. Bullshit. Because it's absolutely based on fake terror. I mean, when you go to the airports, I've been to many airports, and you have all of these different, now the body scanners. I just want to mention, there is an option to opt out. You go to this thing. Now, the old ones, I can accept if the metal detectors, have you got a gun? It would say, okay, fair enough. If I have a big blade or a knife or a gun, fair enough. If you want to go bear and say, please, before you bring that shotgun in, you have to leave it on the other side. I can accept that. But the new ones are very, very vicious. They look high-tech. I love the design. Israeli companies into these things. Have you seen, you go into them and you put your hands on your head like this and up like that, and the symbol that shows you how to hold your hands in there, it's a pyramid with an old seeing eye in it, right. And it goes like around you. These ones, the people working at the airport with the security, I don't blame them at all, because they've been told these are totally harmless. They will not do anything to you. Not true. They can really mess you up, even down to on a DNA level. They can activate cancer viruses in your system, like SV40, that are just there. Many of us have this from vaccinations in our childhood and so on. All of these different radiation things can activate them. X-ray and so on can activate these sleeping cancer cells. So avoid them at all costs. And then you come there, and most people don't even understand that they have the possibility to say, it's very kind of you to offering me this high-tech option to get totally screwed up, but I would prefer today to take a step to the right and then pass it on that side. So I do that all the time. It's uncomfortable. I still do. And then they say, okay, sir, you have to stand there. Why don't you want to go through our beautiful machine here? We cleaned it up. It's very polished, and it's very... Have you got any specific reason? I say, I've said different things, but I've said mostly it's just a matter of principle. Okay, so why do you mind our high-tech New World Order type of thing in the background? What is the problem? It's totally harmless. We work with it all day long. Look at me, I'm still not dying. Well, that is what you think, that I would like to be in your shoes in years and see what's going on in your body system, being that close to this machine for such a long time. And then it's wonderful, because these are the people you will see. it's more or less always people from minorities, or people from foreign backgrounds, low-paid individuals, just like cleaners, bus drivers, same type of individuals. Maybe they were professors in their home country, but now in their new country where they maybe can't come due to their own country being bombed by us, and then we have a problem with mass invasion of the immigrants. I say, if you don't like immigrants, stop bombing their countries. That would be an option for you. And then they get these type of low-paid jobs. They had to hassle us. So I don't blame them at all. Anyway, so they say, I love this one. There was this woman, I think in Amsterdam or something like that, where she said she's really trying to get me into a dialogue about what was the problem with this machine. How did I dare to say no to this fantastic service? And I didn't want to get into any argument, because once you get into that, it's a tug of war, and it's just a waste of time. So I just say, is it mandatory or not? She kept arguing. I said, that's very kind of you to offer, but is it mandatory or not? She kept arguing. I said, thank you, but is it mandatory? And she said, it's not. In that case, thank you. And then she said, there will be consequences. I said, fair enough. What are they? Do you know what they were? I had to take off my shoes. I said, I am very happy to take off my shoes. Can I then pass? And she said, yes. So the consequences of this fear-mongering type of situation was that I had to take off my shoes. I do that every night anyway, so I could do that. And then there was a body search. Normally I get a body search, and they're normally very nice gentlemen that says, they say, why don't you? I said, it's a matter of principles. Why? What are the principles? These machines are totally harmless. I said, that is what you think. I don't think so. Okay, and if it's not mandatory, I would prefer not to go through it. Okay, fair. But then we had to make a body search for it. And they put on the gloves and make you think like, oh my God, are they going to go up my butt?
Yeah, that's right.
Or are they just... And what they do is they're very kind and very, they're more uncomfortable with the situation than I am. And so they had to do the body search, feel my belt, feel my... whatever. Fair enough, go for it, guys. I'm here. Turn around, stand, hands out, hands up, whatever. And then 5 minutes later, we split up and thanked them for doing their job, and that's it. And what I love is when my family's with me, my daughter and so on, she's very, very fearless, and she's been brought up with this, so she just said, thank you, but I'm not doing it. So she had to go through the body search as well, and fair enough. Because these individuals believe it. But I ask you, how many terrorists have been taken through because of these body search? Or how many of these body scans? How many terrorists have they caught? Every time there is a terror attack at an airport, and I've looked into many of them, all of the ones I've looked into have been fake. They have been fake. False flag operation, NATO-sponsored operations with all the tentacles into the Gladio network and so on. And all of the so-called terrorists, I mean, if you look at how people from a Muslim background, how they are treated at airports, if they look Muslims and so on, I mean, I'm blessed with, in this lifetime, a light skin, blue eyes, blonde hair. I go straight through. I've got a passport that allows me to go from country to country. I mean, if that is not being blessed, I don't know what is. But these poor individuals, due to the war of terror, not war on terror, war of terror, totally based on absolute lies, inside jobs like 9/11, have created this image of the Muslims being a major culprit in these crimes. Absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. And all the cases I've looked into, looking for terrorists, I never, ever found a real Muslim terrorist. I have not. I have looked for them everywhere. I am not. What I have paid sponsored inside jobs, NATO financed operations where the CIA, the MI6, Mossad, very, very powerful ingredients in these operations, are doing it to us. So we're being back to being taken for a ride. How many have they taken? None. Not one single terror attack. But then we're being told, well, the underwear bomber. Okay, so he managed to get through. Well, he managed to get on the plane without a passport. Good on him. How did he do that? Well, he was escorted by officially looking individuals that then afterward took him off the plane. Okay, we got the shoe bomber, same thing there. You know, these individuals, we've just been told about it in the media. What is going on? It's deception, 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 and all of it fear-based. I also want to point out something. In this time and day, I'm in touch with one former Swedish police officer. He's had like 20 odd years on the force. Another American police officer, he's got 24 years on the force. And I myself, with my background, have been looking into many, many different so-called accidents. Bus accidents, car accidents, and violent crimes. Or just one of these things, you know, when you go through the paper and you just say, oh my God, another rape, another hold up there, a bank robbery there, a bus accident there, a train accident there, a car accident. When you go through the paper, it's just like, oh my God, the world is so violent. What happened to the world is absolutely mad. Look here, like 4 children gang raped by a bishop and 4 monks. And here, you know, angry husband sawed off the head of his wife and 2 children. I mean, horrific crimes and accidents where cars are just flying off the highway, you know, ending up on the 2nd floor of buildings, or buses that are just suddenly the driver just loses total control and go. Bizarre things, tanks driven into supermarkets. Oh, so weird. This is one thing if you're anyone and you just go through the paper, your impression of the world would be like madness, violence, rape. Oh my God, I need to be afraid. I have to be terrified. I must protect my family. I must get weapons. I must get alarm system. I must trust the authorities that will help me in this. You know, I bless all of these body scanners that will now be put in after Las Vegas. It will be on all the public arenas, and soon it will be in the local 7-Eleven and your bank as well, where you can't get any money out anymore because all digital. It's there for my protection. Bless them all. It's fantastic because the world has gone crazy. But now, when I talk to these former police officers, one of them still the American police officer, he's still on duty, we all come to the same conclusion. It's just not true. But you really have to take one case at a time. And for instance, that bus crash, once you really go into the forensic evidence, you look into the photos, you look into the crime scene, or not crime scene, but where it happened, and the official story doesn't match up at all. Doesn't. And most of the time, the thing is, you just see photos of police cars, cordoned off areas. Often there's a shoe, the incredible shoe that we keep seeing there, left as almost like a business card, a Freemasonic symbol of our operation. These shoes that are left there every single time. And then you have the name of the victims. The numbers are more or less always the same. It's numerology. Also satanic numerology, very often 9, 11, 33, 66 or 666 or 711. The same numbers are keeping repeated. The names of the victims are just incredible. I mean, many of them with sexual, like a play of words around the big names of the victims. Many times they have, I don't know what's that called in English, like the first name and the last name begins with the same letter, like Anderson or something. Very often it is like that. I don't know why they do that, but very often it is. And very often also in the name there are some aspects of liar, or it can be in the name itself. You will see these different words. And another one, like I said, the sexual word games are, there's so much. I hope it's okay for you that I say these names, but because they're official names. You have Joe Cox, you have Cockburn, you have Cockrum, you have Cox, Richard Dick, Dick Cox. I mean, who names their children like that? Any names like that? You got Dick on ass, huge dick in son, ass, dick in ass. I mean, really? I saw there was this Melbourne attack. One woman, one of the witnesses, her name was Annie Dick on ass. What? What? Is that possible? And then the guy who drove the car, his name was almost Gorgonzolas. It just becomes like somebody is just trying to shake us and say, please wake up. This is getting bizarre. We're here to help you, do horrible stuff for you, not towards you, to shake you up so that you will wake up of this sleep. It's bizarre.
It is very bizarre. It's just to go back to the target individuals. I call them selected individuals, and here's my thinking on this, Ole. I think that they're selected so that they have to start waking up now. You can't wait. You can't waste another lifetime. You've got to learn to get your mind under control, go to love, stay away from fear. So it's your time. It's like you're selected to go to a monastery, even though you wouldn't normally go there. You have to go there. You have to learn this. Because I think we're all in this big lesson. You know, you and I and our mutual friend agree that this is an experience for us. We are having an experience. These people are selected for this particular thing. We're selected for other things, and I think it's a wonderful unfolding, but it doesn't feel good to them. So they need to know from the beginning when they get attacked, and their natural response is to go to fear, clam up, or attack. How to get back into your heart, get into your mind. Do you stop and take breaths? Do you stop and, or do you just, I'm sure now you automatically go there. But there was probably a time when you had to stop and think. Could you explain that?
You know, like I said before, no offense to anyone suffering. I know I was invited as a speaker to a conference in Berlin and it was about targeted individuals. And I said, why have you invited me? I don't know anything. And they say, no, we've handpicked you, we've followed you for years, we want you to speak. And I said, okay, so I will speak, but if it doesn't make any sense, I mean, what can I say? So I did 2 speaks there, and what I did was that I didn't prepare anything. I sat down which is scary. I mean, just a few years ago, speaking in front of an audience was the worst thing that I could ever imagine. I was shaking, sweating, crying. You know, I avoided the party in case somebody would ask me to stand up and just say a few words. It was terrifying for me. So now, look at me now, facing the fears. What am I doing? The exact thing that, and now I feel totally comfortable doing it. That's what, when you face your fears, this healing happens. And often what you fear the most is what you need to heal the most, because it will set you free. So I think it's a beautiful naming of individuals that you have said, selected individuals, because that is, it's a SWAT, how should I say, it takes away the power of being a victim in the whole thing. This charge, powerful charge saying you're a victim, meaning you lose your power. What can you do? I'm a victim, I'm powerless. Instead of saying selected individuals. Oh, for some reason, you have been selected, spending a lot of money trying to terrorize you. Why? Why? I mean, if you're a gangster, just imagine how many people. When I came to this conference in Berlin, I thought first, am I in a room filled with people with mental issues that they're talking about being attacked, there are weapons you can't be seen, gang stalking, people knocking on the walls. You know, every time I lift a cup, somebody's knocking on the wall. If I go out and I drive down the highway, there's all these cars where one of the taillights is not working. Every time I come here, the same car turns in and just swoops in front of me. It's the same car every day. They're doing it to terrify me. I felt maybe all of you are just mad. Or after a while, I started to see that the pain was real. I could really see, oh my God, these people are suffering in a horrific way. So I took the pain there. I accepted the pain. And I saw that the stories is not up for me to judge, because I don't know. I have no idea. But at the same time, when I heard the stories and they said, it's so horrific because I'm being observed, you know, like it's like every time I lift my coffee cup, somebody's knocking on the wall from the other side. And I just felt, can you imagine having that job on the other side of the wall? The one that has to knock on the wall every time you decide to have a coffee. Why don't you just play with them? Make them do something like a flamenco type of thing, you know, like just lift the cup, put it down, lift it again, and then do it in flamenco time. Imagine the guy on the other side, how boring must this life be? Imagine when you drive down the highway, how can they coordinate the same car every time? I mean, that is skilled. That takes a lot of practice. You know, are they having a helicopter as well? I mean, this is impressive and very, very boring for these other individuals who are doing it. Can you imagine how boring? Every time you go out and the same car is parking in the same spot every single time. And then they count on you noticing that one of the tail lights are not working, so that you would see, oh, it's the same car again. Oh, it's the same car again. Oh, it's the same. Maybe if it was someone like me, I wouldn't even notice. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't. So maybe that's why they haven't targeted me. At the same time, I have been in a situation where I felt that that there was some kind of weapon used on me. I've had incredible body pain where I even fainted and hit my head in the floor and blood came and stuff like that, where I thought I was being targeted with some kind of weapon. if that was it, or if I had a gallbladder problem. I don't know. I choose to see it as a gallbladder problem that I have now healed in natural ways. But the thing is, how did you get to the understanding of you being gang stalked? Why did they choose you? And for what reason? What is the benefit of them? Because one of the things was, when I looked out in the audience in Berlin, there were like, I think, 200-300 people. There were they had nothing in common with each other. If somebody was doing a mass experiment, or they would, I spoke to Ole Johansson, who is a Swedish professor at the conference. He was a speaker as well. He said, I don't believe you, any of you, because it just doesn't make any sense. If you're a professor, if you're behind one of these operations, you target there's a certain idea behind targeting individuals. You know, either you would go for a race or an age group, or men or women, or some kind of thing that they would have in common. Here, there was nothing. So either it was there to just destroy random individuals, testing out new weapons, or what was going on?
Well, it's really interesting because they're so diverse, and the types of targeting is so diverse. It's almost custom made for the individual. It's really interesting. Did we lose our connection? Are you there, Ole? It's almost custom made. It's custom made for that individual, and of course the mythology behind it is they're collecting data to put in the hive mind, and this thing called artificial intelligence, which I don't believe in, is kind of going to collect this, and they're going to make us all into slaves. Well, why would human consciousness allow itself to be enslaved? Human consciousness wants to develop and grow. So it seems to me that you and I are on the same page on this, that if we take everything as a growth experience that's given to us, then it's easier for us to find ways to deal with it other than going to fear. Because if you go to fear, you're not going to grow. You're not going to learn. And I think I'm getting more and more attached to this idea right now, is that we can grow through this, helping other people, trying to alleviate the pain of the targets seeing it like a growth experience for them. I know it's painful, and I don't want to seem insensitive, but I think if we can move to that area, that's why we have the portal. If we can move to that area where we're seeing ourselves as something other than a victim, and we're seeing this as something that we can actually grow through, and I honestly haven't experienced anything in my lifetime that couldn't be interpreted as a growth experience. I think we'll be a long way in digging ourselves out of this mad world we have ourselves in.
I think that when you study incredible individuals, people that have taken a step out of the crowd, have grown into proportions that have been extremely helpful for the rest of us, all of them have gone through absolute hell. I've not seen anyone who has developed themselves as a real spiritual leader or somebody with real values and have had the muscles and courage to follow and walk their talk. I don't know anyone who has not gone through hell to get there.
Right.
I call it boot camp.
Right.
I call it boot camp. Boot camp is horrific. It's awful. It's horrible. You don't want to do it, but it's there. It's there. So my question is, when you look into reincarnation, when you look into many of these different areas, that is also referring back to my book, Remind Me. It's a very small little book. Is it possible, I just ask, is it possible that we're actually living in a matrix? That what we're going through is like not the universe, but a university of how to, a spiritual university, how to expand ourselves, how to spice up life with traumas. I mean, we're bored without some action. You know, my spiritual teacher, Melanie Chelleram, she had a guru. His name was Gurudev. And one time he was involved in a film project, and it was a film about happiness. The film started, it was pure happiness. Then the whole middle part was happy, and then it ended happily. And it was an absolute flop. Nobody wanted it. People were falling asleep. It was boring. Then you have horror movie. And people go horrific stuff in the movies, and then they end up as heroes. These ones are blockbusters. And I would say, is there a possibility that that is exactly the same we're doing with our lives? I'm bored, I need a trauma. Are we attracting, using traumatic experiences? I went through this. I am special. You know, this happened to me. That makes me special. This is the game of the ego. And this is where we're also back to this trap, the victim. Because I don't know anyone in this lifetime who's not carrying some kind of cross. It can be health or finances or family, whatever. You will see this life on this earth involves some kind of major lesson we have to go through, like a theme, maybe by ourselves before we were born. If you look into reincarnation, there are many different variations talking about more or less that this is what we do. We make some kind of contract with someone up there saying, I want to go down on earth to this, on this game platform, and this is what I would like to experience. I would like to have this set up this time. I want to be black, purple, yellow, fat, thin, male, female, whatever it is. But this round, I want to experience this. And some of my players that have been with me through other games, former lifetimes, I want them to join as well. This is an online game, so they will interact in this whole thing. And the main thing I want to go through in this lifetime is, and here it goes. So that's your cross. Thank you so much. And we exit it there. The game starts in 5 minutes. You go out there, boom, you get born, you choose your parents, you choose the whole setup and so on, and you come down to get into this boot camp university matrix, digital illusion type of things that we're living out here. Is this what we're going through? I mean, this matrix that we are living in, the AR and this whole digital revolution that is going on, it seems like this matrix is now, we're being served it through games and through all of these things now, that it's going to come to a point very soon that we won't be able to see. The only thing I can say is that the choice is mine, how I want to deal with it. And if it's a matrix, or if it's real, or if it's not real, who knows? It's only afterwards when we die, if death exists, or if we just end the game and we go on the other side where other players are waiting for us, like our dead ancestors and so on. I don't know. So the only thing I can do is choose the here and now and make it as beautiful and as beneficial for myself and others as possible at all times. And then hopefully the illusion one day will just open up and we'll see, aha, that was what it was all about. But maybe when our life ends, we have this, we see the end of the tunnel. We see our dead ancestors come and meet us. Maybe that's just like sitting at the cinema or the movie theater, and then the film is over, boom, and somebody turns on the light and say, whoa, it wasn't real. It was just a film. You were just watching a film, and all the people you thought were dead were in the game now around. So you want to, well, you can just sign up on that.
It's like the analogy of Plato's cave. You know, we're looking at the shadows on the cave wall, and it's not real. What's real is behind us. And we don't realize that until after we're done with the experience, because if we weren't in the experience 100%, I mean, if it's a video game, it's a great video game because it really feels real. And if you immerse yourself, without immersing yourself in it, you don't get the benefit from the dilemmas. So you have to be really here. So you can't say, oh, this is just an illusion. No, you're captured by it. But you have to learn, okay, I'm captured by this. How am I going to respond? Am I going to respond logically and by thinking and by choosing the right action? Or am I going to be in fear and attack? And I know that the target's listening to this, know how hard it is. I know how hard it is. It's a very difficult thing, but that's how we work our way out. And each of you, if you make an inch or 2-inch progress, you're making that progress for all of human consciousness. Because believe it or not, it's all one experience, and we're having it. Ole's having it from Ole's side, Paul's having it from Paul's side, Romola has it from Romola's side, but when we all get it together, it's a total comprehensive way to grow consciousness, I think. That's my opinion, anyway.
I totally agree. And Paul, you and your family have gone through absolute horror stuff and very emotional, painful stuff. You would be in a perfect situation to be a victim if you choose to, or deal with it in a different way, which is my experience is of you. That is how you're dealing with it. But I would like to take it to one level more, because I think that if we see this as a matrix, that we are living in this illusion, I believe that they talk about your higher self and so on. Is it possible that your higher self is actually the real you who's playing the game, and that the one, this Paul that I'm looking at now, and this Ole that you're looking at in this situation, are the players on the game, in the game, that we're not the real one. We also have the real self, the higher self, is actually the one playing us. I would suggest that I believe is true. You will see in all the old scriptures and so on, you have the higher self and a communication down to us, where I believe that it's just for us to use to move around on the game plane, look right, look left, so you don't get hit by trucks and stuff like that. Don't put your hand on a hot stove, these type of things. But the real information exchange that should be used are through emotions. Since we've been equipped with a brain that keeps thinking all the time, you can't have the player communicate with you, or your higher self communicate with you with more words, because that would just be total chaos. So to make it more interesting, this game, the only way that your higher self can communicate with you is through feelings. It can guide you through feelings. So you got, it's almost like a GPS system where you got the negative feelings, the positive feelings, and so on, to keep you on track. Wherever the theme, whatever the destiny or karma that you're going through, you have chosen, this is my direction. And the way that you can find what is your way through this game, what is your way to expand, or the road that you have chosen to walk this way, in this lifetime. The way to find that is to follow your goosebumps, I believe. To follow your compassion. Whatever it is that gives you goosebumps, that gives you that, that is the one you should follow. Even though there's no logic to it. I want to be a super baker, or I want to be a drag racing driver, or I want to be a doctor, I want to be whatever it is that gives you goosebumps. That is the one that you should follow. It is your higher self, your spirit, whatever is calling you. The more you get off track, the more that you leave the road of goosebumps, that is where depression comes, frustration comes, all of these things, because you're off track. The higher self, your self of the play here, to tell you, get back on track. You're off track. I'll make you feel even more miserable. Please listen. But we're so caught up in our brains nowadays, just listening round, the same loop, that we don't feelings, which important communication. The feelings is like a GPS system that says, no, a little more to the left, a little more to the right, just follow it. So when you feel empowered, when you feel positive, happy, grateful, you're on track. As soon as you start getting off track, you're feeling more and more negative feelings. That is an indication. Change. You need to change something because you're not listened. So the more you tune into your feelings, and I'm not talking about becoming a victim of your feelings, and just because you're feeling hurt or angry, I mean can be just because your ego is too messed up in the whole thing, making you into a victim once again. But if you fine tune it so that you listen to the inner voice, the heart, that will show you its direction. It will guide you in a people think that the way to go is straightforward. Not in this game. It's up, down, in circles, round, and whatever. But otherwise it wouldn't be interesting. So I really think feelings are super, super important to listen to, not to be caught up into, but listen to as a guiding system. And less focus on the mind, more focus on the heart.
Right, I think your next book should be entitled The Road of the Goosebumps. I think that would be and there's probably something about that in the book that has this information and this technique. Remind me. I want to... Mind me. Right. I want to kind of bring this to a close because if they're too long, people have to occupy too much time. I think we've given them a technique, but what you've done, Ole, is you've housed the technique in a philosophical background and transporting yourself to this philosophical background that you've created, and us not being victims, that we're here to experience dilemmas and overcome them and move forward. And the more practice we get, the better we get at it, and we can move forward. And to look at the perps and the people who are attacking you as victims of themselves, because they're more of a victim than the targeted. Really they are, because the way I make sense of the universe is they're making a wrong decision every day. And that's got to affect their daily life now, and it's going to complicate their situation more and more as they go. So I think they're the real victims. But talking to targets, I think to see yourself in this philosophical training as growing ego, and how can I, as Rosemary, whatever my name is, how can I use this experience that I didn't pick? I might have picked it on another plane before I got here, but I didn't pick in the moment. How can I most benefit from this? How can I relieve the suffering as much as I can? And how can I move forward? And you're also very motivational, Ole. So I hope they watch this, and I hope they get out of it what Mindy and I have gotten out of it already. It's really been inspiring.
Can I just say that please notice fear is always connected to the future. It is, you're never fearful of something in your background. It is for something to happen that has not yet happened. So fear is something you can deal with, because, you know, like if somebody comes up and puts a gun, you know, to your head or something like that, as long as you're not dead, there's no reason really to fear something. I mean, maybe the gun is made of rubber. Maybe it's not loaded. It's in your mind. It's in your mind. I'm not talking about being stupid. I'm just saying that fear is connected to the future. And since it's not real, because it has not yet happened, that is a place where you can deal with it. So when people ask me what to do about the New World Order or whatever it is, I say focus on becoming fearless. The more you can let go of fear, the freer you will be in your normal life. So look at maybe the tiny things to get empowered. Maybe you're terrified of singing in front of people. Practice singing in front of people instead of fighting the New World Order. That will empower you in a way, not only if you manage to sing a karaoke, whatever, it doesn't matter what it sounds like. It's what you're fearful of. If it's height or whatever, to, you know, pick up the ladder and see if you can get a few more steps every day higher up. It will free you, and the freer you are, the more you, or the more fearless you are, the harder it is for them to control you. So you're actually liberating yourself, inspiring people around you to climb up the ladder or sing in front of people or whatever it is, you know. So become fearless. And the future, if you focus too much on what has happened, I would say, I'm not here to criticize anyone, but that is where depression comes from. When you focus too much on what has happened, and especially if you go into this minefield of I, me, and mine.
Right.
The more you focus on I, me, and mine, that's where depression comes from. These are main ingredients in getting depressed. So instead of I, this happened to me, oh my God, my, at the minefield, change the wording and say we, us. What can I do for us? What can I do for, and you know, start reaching out, do good for others instead of just focusing upon your own misery. This happened to me, great. Maybe that can empower you to have more compassion for people in this situation. And what if whatever situation you are right now is the perfect situation? Everything in your life has led you to that exact situation. Why? What is it that you can transcend or heal or just totally change the world around you with? What is it in this situation? Find the key. Get out of fear mode. Find the key. The key will be in love. Because the higher frequency, that was what Jesus said. Listen, guys, if this is the truth, that a higher frequency will just annul any lower frequency, why not just go for it all the time? Whatever the problem is, meet it with love. Whatever the low frequency is, meet it with the highest frequency and annul it. That's the name of the game. That is how you transcend it.
Fantastic. I don't know why. Well, I don't interview you every month, because I just get so motivated, and I'm sure that these targets and the people who are going to watch this are feeling the same way I am. Thank you very much, Ole. Did you want to end with I usually end with a little motivational prayer. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I would love to. If all of these selected individuals who have been, I mean, apparently somebody's spending millions on doing stuff to them. If you can make sort of like a flamenco band and train these people on the other side of the world to do, knock on the wall every time you lift the coffee cup or whatever, right, and do it into maybe a performance act or something like that, like an art exhibition of
exactly
what could happen. the prayer goes like this. May and universe be filled with peace and be filled with peace and joy, love and light.
Ole, you need to do it again because they knocked us out. It's really funny, but we found in doing these podcasts, when you hit something on the head, when you're really saying truth, they screw up. They screw up the connection. Do this again. So I think this is very powerful. Please.
But then, Paul, please keep this in so that because this is what happens every single time. When you point the light straight at the darkness, they cut it out. They stop it. It's like it's absolute horrendous for the dark forces. So in compassion, we don't just show that this is what happens. So we go again. Entire universe, love, everyone.
Ole, they did it again.